Welcome to the Blue Dragon Guild's Month of Monsters. All of our videos this month are going to have something to do with the monsters of D&D. Whether it's a book review, whether it's talking about a specific kind of monster, just a whole month dedicated to monsters. So, making your own monster. I think many DMs throughout the course of their DM career have thought about this. Whether they've actually done it or not, I'm not sure. Creating your own monster is something that I very, very much enjoy, and it always keeps your party on their toes because they don't know what they're going to expect from you. So when creating your monster, where do you begin? To me, there's 3 different ways to go about creating your monster. The first one is just to swap the abilities of existing monsters. The second way, transform existing stat blocks. And the third, just creating a whole brand new monster from scratch. So swapping abilities. This is probably the easiest and quickest way to make a custom monster, if you will. This may be a process as simple as adding the Troll's regeneration feature to, say, a Roper. Something that, that will make that fight a little bit tougher and have your PCs wondering, like, how much health does this thing have? Especially if they've used a Roper when they've ran games, it'll keep them a little mixed up there. Or perhaps you can add the heated body from the salamanders to an iron golem, just to make those punches hurt a little bit more. However you do your ability swapping, make sure you consult the creature creation in the DMG. It is on page 273. That way you make sure you don't mess with the CR too much, although I don't think there's a whole lot that really messes with that. So just keep that in your mind, whenever you're doing this kind of thing. The second form of monster creation is transforming an existing stat block. This one's a little similar to the ability swapping, but not exactly. In last week's video, I touched on a monster that I created called the Rust King. It's a beefed up rust monster. I basically took the rust monster's stat block, changed a few things here and there, beefed it up a little, and there I got my monster. Along with the ability swapping, this one is fairly easy. Just as with that one, you want to check and make sure you're not jacking up the CR from, CR half to CR 19, something wild like that. This is what I think I have probably done the most when it comes to creating your own monster, because the building blocks are already there. You just have to go in and add more to it, beef up a few spots. And then we have probably the most difficult of the monster creation, and that is creating from scratch. This is something I have done a few times, and I really enjoy doing it, although it is a little tedious, making sure you get everything checked and all that. When creating your own monster, you really want to have a solid idea of what you want to do. You may be able to do one of the first few options to achieve what you want, or you may just have to go with it and figure it out as you go. One of the monsters I created was called the Void Sentinel, and I kind of based it off of the Ethereals from World of Warcraft, if any of you've ever played that. When you kill those enemies, they kind of do this weird explosion thing, and that got me thinking, what if you had an enemy who exploded? Well, in the monster manual, we do. If you look at the Mephits, whenever they die, they release an explosion of whatever elemental energy that they're based on. So I took that ability because I knew I wanted to use that. I wrote up a brief description of what they look like, a little bit of how they came into existence. I built up the stat block from existing monsters that were of the same challenge rating, and I took that ability, added it in, changed it to how I needed it to, and then I just set it loose on the party. I've only used the Void Sentinel maybe one time, I think, in an actual game, outside of just play testing, amongst myself. Creating your own monster is a great way that you can add more depth and flavor to your D&D world, especially if it's a homebrew world. You can create whole entire legends about these creatures and just sprinkle little bits of information in And that way the party's gathering all this stuff up, and then finally you can unveil this monster that you've been working on. And they're going to remember that because it's not in the monster manual. They've never seen anything like this before. So it should be a really, really fun time for them. Something hopefully they'll be talking about for a while. Something that hopefully they'll want to get the stats for their own games when they run. If you've ever created any of your own monsters in D&D, let us know down in the comments below. Let us know if you've had any failures with them or huge success. And if you'd like to see more D&D content, hit the subscribe button. And until next time, keep the dice rolling.